So it's time to compare the Strv103C with the ZTZ88A. Both vehicles are main battle tanks, and both vehicles are at tier 8. Now, there will be some big differences between the vehicles. I mean, obviously the STRV is quite the unique one by design, although both have their unique traits that I'll be covering today, and both are fantastic vehicles in their own way. Now let's start with the ZTZ88A. This vehicle is known to have some pretty good main gun performance, has APF-SDS ammo, which is one of my favorites, and it has fantastic penetration. It is also fast. The overall protection, the armor is pretty solid for a medium tank, although in high tier we don't really rely on the armor that much, but this vehicle can bounce shells. The frontal upper plate is very well armored. The turret's a bit less armored, but it's still, tough. And the side and rear armor is not that good. I mean, it's usually not good on most vehicles, but the frontal armor on this vehicle is really, really solid. The main gun is also, as already mentioned, really good. The reverse speed is probably one of the downsides. It is not that fast in reverse, but it gets the job done, very maneuverable and a very agile medium tank. It doesn't have an autoloader, which is, I would say, the biggest difference between the STRV and most of the other tier 8 vehicles. The autoloader definitely makes a huge difference when it comes to firepower. Now the main gun is, as mentioned before, pretty good, but that autoloader is making a huge difference when it comes to the maximum possible firepower. Now here we have the Pancake, well, one of the pancakes that we have at the moment. This thing's fast, both forward and backwards. It's a very weird tank because it has a fixed turret, doesn't have a turret. Well, it has a fixed main gun, doesn't have a turret, and has very good rotations. Basically, you aim by moving the whole hull. Now the penetration is a bit lower, but it does have APF-SDS ammo, which is going to penetrate every tank in the game without a problem. The frontal protection is really good. It also has a anti-ATGM and heat shield at the front, which does work really well. And of course, the autoloader. The autoloader is the main thing of the vehicle. It reloads. It has the fastest reload out of any main battle tank in the tier, and probably has the best firepower out of any main battle tank in the tier, and probably the fastest shooting main battle tank in the game at the moment. And that does allow this vehicle to be extremely lethal as a sniper, and this vehicle is also able to completely control a whole side on the map on its own, especially if you know where to position it so that the enemy can't really hit the lower plate. The main weak spot is the lower plates, the transmission of this vehicle, very easy to immobilize it, and it is not really a vehicle designed for close range combat. This is a defensive vehicle, a vehicle for sniping, and a vehicle that can give excellent support fire, and for that purpose this is a monster. It's a very, very scary tank to use and to have on the team. And of course the frontal armor on this thing is one of the best armors that we have in the game at the moment. It is so sloped that it will bounce so many shells, and this thing's survivability is really, really, really good. Probably the best survivability out of any tank in the game. And you can actually rely on the armor on this thing. You can bounce shells if you know where to position it. This is one of the few main battle tanks that allow you to take advantage of the angle and of the armor so that you can bounce shells. The only thing that you have to be careful around is to hide the lower plate, which is usually, well, not exactly the weak spot, but the lower part of the vehicle can be penetrated, and you want to make sure that that is hidden. Now, this is going to be the first map for today, and this vehicle is very nasty when it comes to camping and sniping. Its main gun has APF-SDS shells, which are very fast, and shooting with this thing is honestly very, very, very fun, since that autoloader, it says 4 seconds reload, it's actually closer to 3 seconds. So all the traits over there that we see are accurate, but when you actually start to drive the vehicle, you'll notice that the overall loading speed is maybe a little bit better. I would rate it at about 3.5 seconds. That's the reload that I can feel that's happening with this vehicle. And this vehicle works really well in a group of STRVs. I mean, this vehicle is designed to be used as a sniper, and I'm definitely going to be using it as a sniper. Can't really run around with this thing because of the fact that it has no turret. Although no turret is not really a big problem. If you keep your distance from the enemy, they can't really do much to you anyway. And of course, if you take advantage of the cover, that does make the STRV even more enjoyable. Now, the way you drive this thing is, well, kind of weird. You can't move this vehicle with the joystick. You can only move forwards and backwards. Can't move left and right using the joystick. You basically have to move the camera if you want to move the whole vehicle. So if you get this vehicle, you definitely will have to learn how to drive it. So it does drive in a different way. It doesn't have the classic controls that the other vehicles have. It also has that hydraulic suspension, which allows you to raise or lower the vehicle, which works automatically. You can also use that to increase the angle and bounce more shells. I mean, the hydraulic suspension on this vehicle is also awesome. Now, the reverse speed is really good. It goes 49 km/h in reverse, and that makes it perfect for shooting and basically moving backwards. You can technically shoot and move backwards at the same time, which is kind of funny. Means that your frontal armor and frontal end of the vehicle will always be facing towards the enemy tank. The side and rear are very vulnerable. The rear of the vehicle stores the ammo. Those weird boxes that you see on the end is basically the ammo storage, and if you get hit there, you die basically. The crew is also stored at the end, at the back of the vehicle, and the crew has amazing protection. Now, the crew of the STRV has really some of the best possible protections in the game at the moment. Very difficult to kill the crew, and it takes a while to actually kill off the crew on this vehicle. You can detonate the ammo, but it's more difficult to actually kill the crew, which is a very interesting thing for the STRV. And this thing can also technically be amphibic, although I don't really think that they added the amphibic mode for the STRV in this game, but it can technically swim. Although I wouldn't be trusting that. I wouldn't be going in the water with this thing. Alright, well, I got hit with the ATGM. As you can see, crew is fine, although the transmission and the tracks got hit. So yeah, you can take direct ATGM hits if it hits. If it hits low or below the vehicle, it will kill the vehicle. But usually it survives, because that's just how tough this thing is. It is very, very tough to eliminate a STRV. Especially a angled one. Although on this map, if you can position the vehicle so that you have a good view on the whole map, basically, not many tanks can surprise you. I mean, you will see them before they see you, and your shell velocity is very high, so you can easily shoot them before they even see you, and before they can even aim at you, you are probably already shooting 2 shells into them and basically killing them. That was a triple kill. That was a triple kill, just like that. And this is why I love this vehicle so much. The autoloader is just so crazy on this vehicle. If you can position yourself in such a way that you see the incoming tanks, if you know where the enemy tanks will come at you, from which direction basically, you can just block their whole way and just kill them one by one, and by the time they react, they're already down 3 tanks or 4. This is why I'm saying that the STRV probably has the best performing gun in the tier. I know other guns may have more penetration, but other guns don't have the same rate of fire. And having good rate of fire also has a big role when it comes to firepower, because you can put more shells into the enemy than the enemy can put into you, and that means you will probably do more damage than the enemy. Combining that with the way this tank is designed, and combining that with the way what ammo you have and the gun and all the things considered, this is a very, very lethal vehicle. Now, it is definitely a weird one. I mean, just look at this thing, a pancake basically. A weird looking pancake with some heat and ATGM protection. Yeah, it's basically the short description that I can give for this thing. A pancake with some with a fence that has a purpose to defend itself against incoming heat or ATGMs. But the main gun, when it comes to the main gun and firepower, I don't think that any other vehicle can easily outclass, at least at the moment. Not many vehicles can actually do that. I think no vehicles can do that at the moment. That autoloader is just nasty, and that autoloader basically means that you will definitely wipe out a lot of vehicles with it. Well, with the main gun that is, since it can fire so quickly. And it has range and fantastic optics as well. Although optics don't really matter at the moment, but the optics of this thing are really good. And I have reached one of my positions, one of my, let's say, more likable positions, where I can easily snipe. If the base is in the middle, I can position myself right over here and wait for the enemy vehicles to rush towards me. And if they do that, well, they are in trouble, because I'll be shooting at them. Although it seems like we are going to win the match, and that's basically how to play the Strv88A. Long distance, long range sniper that can literally block off an entire field or an entire side of the whole map. And I did exactly that. I prevented the enemy from doing anything, basically. That was good round. It was honestly a very good round. So let's go to the ZTZ88A. Now this vehicle does play very similar to the T55, T54, T62. It has generally the same speed, although it definitely is more maneuverable, and it has a faster turret rotation speed than the T54 and T55A. Well, it should have. Although the main gun is definitely much better on this thing. Now this main gun is scary. It has a very good kick to it, and when it hits, it wrecks. So the main gun on this vehicle is definitely pretty awesome, and you will have absolutely no problems with it. You have APFSDS, which means that you will be able to penetrate all of the vehicles in the game at the moment, and it also means that your shell will be very fast, so you don't have to spend a lot of time aiming, just point and click basically with APFSDS shells. Now, as I mentioned before, the armor of this vehicle is good. Frontal plate, if angled, can bounce shells, and the frontal plate on this vehicle does kind of feel a bit on the troll side because of how many shells I bounced, or how many times I bounced it. But I still don't entirely rely on the armor, I rely on cover. And in high tier, there are a few vehicles that you can use to, to angle and bounce shells, but in most cases I prefer cover. Even with the Strv, I still prefer cover, and I still prefer to expose the tank as least as possible, since, again, in high tier, most of the vehicles will be able to simply penetrate you, and using cover, natural cover, or even Rex is the way to go. And so far, I have been doing exactly that with all of the vehicles, with very good success, and with fantastic performance. Now, main gun performance. Now, this vehicle does, on paper, say that it has better penetration than the Strv, although in the end they use the same ammo type, APFSDS. Now the main gun is obviously not the same 105, they're using different main guns, and they do have differences in the amount of armor that they can penetrate. Although this gun does reload slower, 6.7 seconds, which honestly isn't bad at all. I mean, it reloads like the Leopard A1A1, and that vehicle is really good, so you basically get the same reload speed and a bit more penetration than the Strv, although you don't get the same outloader. And penetration isn't really everything, since, as I mentioned before, all the Tier 80 vehicles are able to penetrate each other. They all have APFSDS, well, most of them have. The STB doesn't have that, for example. The STB has APDS, which does put the STB a bit to the inferior side in the rank 8 vehicles at the moment, and not many players use it because of the ammo. But the ZTZ and Strv Leopard A1A1, the T55A, well, actually the T55 has, I think it also has HG-ADFS besides APFSDS. T6 also has APFSDS, so all of these vehicles in high tier can easily penetrate each other with that ammo, so penetration isn't a problem. But how many shells you can deliver per minute is one thing where the Strv is unmatched. Best reload, and to date the best possible firepower, doesn't mean that the Strv is, you know, almighty and that it's difficult to drive. Definitely on the more difficult side to master, but when you do that, you will definitely have a lot of fun with the vehicle. And of course, the Strv eats a lot of consumables. That's also one big drawback on that vehicle. It is very expensive to run, very expensive to use, because it would just eat up all your silver with repairs, if of course you get hit, which you will probably get hit quite often, and since the tank is so hard to kill, it will just eat up all the repair kits that you have. Happened with me many times, although it didn't really stop me from playing the vehicle, because it is honestly just so much fun to drive that thing around. Now the ZTZ definitely easier to run, easier on the wallet, and it does play more like the conventional vehicle. Definitely much easier to drive this thing around than the Strv. Does play like a normal tank. So if you are familiar with the normal medium tanks, then definitely go with the ZTZ for starters. If you want to try out something different and something new, then the Strv definitely has that covered. If you ever get bored from all the normal vehicles, the Strv is here to give you a different, unique experience. And I really hope that the developers add more unique tanks like that with unique controls, because the Strv, part of me enjoying that vehicle is the fact how it drives. It drives differently, and it does bring that breath of fresh air when you play the game for a couple hours and you want to do something else. Well, the Strv is definitely the vehicle that can pull that off quite well. Now, looks like we are going to win the match. Does seem to be the case, and I'm pretty happy with the performance of the ZTZ. Wasn't as lucky as I was with the Strv with the amount of kills, but this will do. This is basically how this vehicle should also be played. Take advantage of cover, maneuver around, flanking, and it can do sniping. It can also be used at close and medium distances, while the Strv is exclusive to long distance because of the way the vehicle works, and because of it doesn't have a turret, so you can't really go with that thing up close. But with this vehicle, you can easily go up close and personal, and it can easily capture points. It can also snipe if required. Basically, it does work like a normal main battle tank. It does work like a medium tank and I'm very happy with its performance. It is definitely a fun vehicle to have, and a rewarding vehicle. I mean, if you are experienced with medium tanks, then you will definitely have a blast with this thing. It's honestly a very awesome tank. Both vehicles are very good, and I honestly love both of these main battle tanks. So that would be it for today. Feel free to tell me in the comments down below what you think about the Strv or the ZTZ. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say about these two vehicles. But with that being said, if you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe. As always, I'll see you next time.